Hi, everybody. This is Maddie Cummins with Cerebrations. I'm a social worker and a journey coach, and I always want to rotate in my chair. It's part of my brain stuff that happens, so I apologize. I don't actually know I'm doing it. Probably should get a stationary chair next time. So, as you can tell, this isn't a professionally done video, and that's okay. We're all good with that. This is a project my son and I are working on together, and part of my goal is just to help people understand their brain. I love brains. I love them. We take our brain for granted. And today I want to specifically talk about brain injury and what happens to us when we have a brain injury. This could be, I usually do this in like 4 hours. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to talk really quickly to those of you that have had brain injuries and just a little bit of snippet about why things feel so discombobulated, fuzzy. A lot of people say they feel fuzzy. So where your brain, so you have a brain injury, and when I say brain injury, I mean traumatic in nature. You've been hit by a car, you've been in a car wreck, you've fallen from a roof, you've fallen from a ladder, but there's actually a jolt or a bang to the head. You can also have a medical injury, brain injury, through stroke, aneurysms, brain tumors. Often people don't recognize the brain tumor can cause brain injury because it alters the structure of the brain. And so there can be radiation can cause issues with brain because, again, it's affecting, there's stuff going on in there, and it's affecting the way the brain's working. So all of that stuff is, one day maybe I'll just do a video on what causes brain injury, because I think people would be surprised by that. So I've been working with people with brain injuries for 25 years. I remember I was in my 20s, and I met my first people that I started working with that were adults with brain injuries. They were about my age at the time, and most of them were young men. And I just became so fascinated by what was happening in the brain, and because you can look at them and there's a lot of personality differences. Like I could meet someone before their brain injury and they would be very different after the brain injury. Some of them I could look at, and if you don't know brain injury, you would know they had a brain injury. And I think that's often very complicated, and we'll spend some time on post-concussive, because I think that can be a very complicated thing. But I just got fascinated by what happens when you have a brain injury. Part of what I think people take for granted is the brain is everything. It's everything we do, feel, smell, believe, communicate, our cultural awareness around our family and our society. I have spent many a year becoming this person that I am today. And a lot of that is through shared experiences with people, but it's a lot of it just personal growth of intentionally and sometimes unintentionally deciding I'm going to change, and my brain changes with me. New neurons fire, new neurons connect so that I can have this different experience. If I had a brain injury tomorrow, all of that could just change. And when you think about being this person you are and spending all this time becoming the person you are, having an injury, and really next day, I mean, it depends on the medical issue and all this other stuff, but after the injury, you don't know who you are anymore because it's not your brain. The brain that you had has changed. And you have to figure out this new brain and this new way of living in a brain that doesn't belong to you without the tools you need to be able to figure out how to do it. So it's a very, very complicated journey. And often with brain injury, it takes 6 months, it takes a year, it takes 2 years, it takes a lifetime for the brain to kind of start figuring out. And if you think about it, like, I don't have any qualms telling people I'm 50. I've survived, and I've thrived, and I've not thrived, and I have worked really hard to become the person I am today. And if tomorrow all of that changes, I would be really angry about that, because that is really hard to put my brain around. How does that brain not, I mean, it's not mine anymore. It feels like it belongs to someone else. And so I think that what I want to say for those of you that have brain injuries is that's normal after the injury. People that I've worked with really hate the words, most of them, the new normal. And you guys have probably heard that. And it was, during COVID, we heard that a lot. This is our new normal. But that's part of this adjustment period is figuring out that new normal. There goes my dog. So I'd put him up, but he'd just bark all the time. But we need to find this new normal, and that's really, really hard. The one thing I really think I want to say too is the thing to remember is you can't go through the experiences you've been through with a brain injury and not change. So any traumatic event is going to change us as people. It just so happens that your traumatic event also changes your brain, which makes that more complicated, but you would change anyway. We'll spend some time talking about grief and loss too. I'm trying to keep these small, and there's a lot that we can cover. If you have any topics you'd like for me to talk about, please put those in the comments, or go to our website at sarabrations.com. Again, I just want to remind everybody I'm a social worker. I can call myself a neurosocial worker. That's not really a thing, but that's what I've been doing all these years. And but I'm not a neuropsychologist, so you can ask me complications about the brain and the science of the brain and how everything works. Sometimes I can answer it, and sometimes I can send you to somewhere that might be able to. But my expertise is really, what does life look like now with the brain injury? So I just want to thank you guys for joining us, and I look forward to continuing these conversations as we move through. Thanks. Bye.